BMWM's M2 is a great car, but now there's a version above. Say hello to the brand new M2 CS. And as with all modern CS cars, it is an M of an M. With a carbon ducktail, weight saving, more power, unique looks, and CS tuning everywhere. All the things we love about the CS range. It's the one that all of us will be looking for in 3 to 4 years' time on the used market as the M2 to own and keep, and the one that early adopters are going to be just a little smug about getting to own. So what's changed exactly, and how does this stack up versus our normal M2 and, more crucially, the M4 CS? What's the price? What are the options? Let's check it out. Now guys, it would be criminal not to begin, first of all, with the design, which actually betrays quite a lot of what's going on with our M2 CS. You compare it to the standard car, and the first thing that you note immediately is, of course, the ducktail spoiler, which just looks absolutely phenomenal on the CS. It's big, it's really flat on the rear and gives this car an even more muscular look than we've had previously, and this is already a really muscular car. Then you'll note that it sits a little bit lower than our standard M2, by 8mm actually on M's adaptive suspension. We'll go into all the technicalities in a minute, but you'll notice on the front end, not much changed beyond the CS-specific kidney grille. So not like the M3 and the M4, which got a carbon bonnet, though this gets, of course, our ducktail, which we've only seen in the M4 CSL. Now there's quite a few more details. Let's first take a look at the design close up together, then I'll tell you what's changed under the skin. You know guys, an independent YouTube channel like this is given life by two things. One is great viewers like you, and the other one is great sponsors. And Manscaped has been sponsoring RBR for the longest time. They're my favorite sponsor. And in all the years I've shown you their products, they've always been in black until today with this first ever special edition of the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra here in white hot. Look at that. Now, as it says on the box, let's get down to your business. They've always been the gold standard in grooming your nether regions, but now it's literally the gold standard, and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is the best one that they've ever done for two main reasons actually, and that is because it comes with two separate heads that fulfill two different purposes when it comes to grooming downstairs. The first one is our trusty trimmer blade, which is now longer, wider, with rounded teeth, and this is perfect for getting rid of those bigger and thicker hairs. Then we have this one, which is the foil blade shaver. And this is to finish things off. It's to give it that baby skin, smooth, final finish, literally for that bare skin finish. These blades have special RPM technology to keep the cutting level consistent. It's got skin safe technology to stop from nicks and that type of stuff happening in your most delicate place. And you can even use this in the shower because they are waterproof as well. And there's a couple of other features that I always love on all the Manscaped shavers, which this has. First of all, you have the LED light in here, which glows two separate colors and helps you see those areas that are a bit more difficult to see. As always, their shavers, USB-C, so no other silly wires that you need to keep with you. It's also got an LED indicator on the front and even a travel lock so it doesn't turn off while you're traveling. Gold standard of male grooming. And of course, as an RBR viewer, despite this being a special edition, I've got you a great discount, 15% off. Use the code RBR15 and free international shipping on manscaped.com. So that's 15% off using the code RBR15. A huge thanks to Manscaped for supporting the channel for years and to you guys for being great viewers. Let's get back to the car. So in terms of design, the first thing that obviously stands out to you when you get near the car is the ducktail spoiler. And it's such a boon for the M2 to get that, because the only other car, like we said, that had it was the M4 CSL. And it's really quite exaggerated, particularly when you start to look at it from like a lower angle and you see just how high it looks. It's beautiful, and it's really flat here. It gives you that same effect that the M4 CSL had. And then the ducktail only gets better when you see the inside. This is where we made a ton of weight saving thanks to the carbon fiber, which you can plainly see, which is nice because in the previous F87, you can see the carbon under the bonnet. So that is very nice. And then, of course, the M2 CS badging with the red around it, just as we've had in the other CS cars. So that's your ducktail. Then the other thing that they've designed really nicely is our carbon fiber rear diffuser here, which actually I think mimics the look of kind of a BMW kidney grille a little bit with these two different sections. Our exhaust tailpipes, no titanium tips here like we've seen in other CSs, but they are finished in a satin black. We'll have to see if the car sounds any different. At the moment, it doesn't appear as if it will, but the design here, really, really nice. then that angle is where you really appreciate this. And then of course you notice your wheels, which are gorgeous. We've seen these before on the M3 and the M4 CS, finished here in a lovely satin goldy bronze, which looks great. But that look is what really, really defines this car. And I think it absolutely looks lovely. The side view, pretty standard M2, and that's great because it's a naturally muscular vehicle. Nothing really to denote the CS other than the ducktail on the side though. And then I'm hoping you'll notice that the car sits that 8mm lower on the M adaptive suspension, which gives this a nice stance on the staggered wheel setup as well. Then the other changes are on the front, where admittedly less has changed, hasn't it? All we really have is the CS specific Kinry grille, which is actually really nice. It's quite different to your standard M2. You've of course got the red coloured badge in there. It's definitely got its own vibe in there. It looks a bit more open, looks a bit more aggressive. Our lower intakes at the bottom are pretty much the exact same design as the M Performance parts like I had on my M2. So those, again, a bit more open, a bit more motorsport looking. And then you'll notice this lower splitter, which in the past we've had on the CSs in carbon fiber. This is a rubber one, and BMWM say it's better in terms of, you know, actual usage when you're tracking, etc., and using the car daily, which I accept, but it's hard not to miss the sexiness of the old carbon fiber one. But that's it. We've got a normal bonnet. It's not a carbon fiber bonnet. As we said, we've benefited instead from the boot. I miss that aspect because I love the bonnet in my previous M2 CS and the F87. It looked gorgeous, didn't it? And of course, we've seen how nice it looks in the M3 and the M4. And one more weird omission from the usual CS design is the lack of the yellow DRLs. I do wonder if M haven't done this because so many aftermarket tuners are putting them on every single BMW. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think M have done enough on the front? What do you think of that whole package? Let me know in the comments. And finally, let's have a look inside. Then the inside, where there's some very obvious CS changes immediately when you jump in the interior. Of course, the first thing is your fully carbon center console, which is such a highlight in all the CS cars. So just like you find in M3, just like you find in M4, the same quality, the same shape. It looks gorgeous in here. And you've got your lovely CS, I don't know what to call this, arm cushion. It's nice, it feels premium. I like that element. I love seeing so much carbon fiber in here. And it just ties so well to that entire lightweight concept that the CS is meant to have. The only downside is you lose the storage here in the middle, but I think it's fair enough. The M2 generally has a good amount of storage. Now there's a few other cool things, a few little CS details around this interior, which are gorgeous. First, of course, the massive and thick steering wheel. I know some of my counterparts don't like the thickness. That's because they're not used to girthy things like I am. This looks great. I love the suede finish of the steering wheel. I love the 12 o'clock marker at the top, the carbon fiber that goes around the trim, and of course, the lovely paddles as we see in the M3 and the M4. That's a big win for me. But there are better little details of CS around this car. My favorite one is in the door card, where you have this flashing red CS logo, which kind of acts as your warning light basically when you have anything close to the door, etc., as we've seen in other BMW cars. But it's a nice thing sitting behind like a carbon fiber structure. We also have our door sill panel there with the CS logo, and as we always have in the seats, the lighted CS logo as well. One thing I was expecting in the interior was those advanced bucket seats that we've seen, like we saw in the M4 CS and the M4 CSL, as options. I get why it's not in here, because the M2, like I found in my car, such a great daily car that you can use pretty much every day in great comfort. So if you put that in here, you probably negate the rear seats and the whole thing becomes a bit of a strange concept. Still, I would have liked to have seen a completely different trim at least for these bucket seats, whereas this is exactly what you get in a normal M2. And that leaves me a little bit cold. And that's also the case for kind of the dash. I would have liked to have seen maybe some of this in suede, some of the under part, where it's all left looking a little bit bare bones. It looks a little bit F87 actually in that regard. So a little bit let down by that. So design is an interesting one, isn't it? I think I've got mixed feelings here. I really like the rear. I really like the ducktail. I like how that is immediately different to the standard car. The kidney grille is a really nice treatment as well. I just miss the fact that something wasn't done in the bonnet, just like in the previous F87 M2 which I had, because that was such a defining element of the front end look of that car. Then I think that rubber splitter at the bottom, again, in terms of pure sexiness, it doesn't have the appeal of the previous carbon splitter. So some mixed feelings here on that design element. But really, what makes the CS is what's under the skin. Let's talk about the technicalities. Now, to get an idea just how much the CS has improved the normal car, let's talk about the normal M2 in the LCI specifically, which saw a bit of an update. So we had 480 horsepower, the same 550 Newton meters, and an improved 0 to 60 of 4 seconds. CS betters this by quite a bit. We've got 50 horsepower more and 100 Newton meters more. So 530 horsepower, 650 Newton meters, and a better 0 to 60, at least on paper, of 3.8 seconds. What will that translate to onto the road? We will see. But it is essentially our same wonderful 3-litre inline-6 twin-turbo engine, but seemingly just with a tune rather than any adjustments to the boost pressure, etc., like we saw on the M4 CS. What has changed, however, is the torque range versus the normal M2. The normal M2 has a wider torque band, so you've got more power everywhere feeling, whereas this is a bit more motorsport. You build that power quicker, a bit more ferociously, because you're not that worried about the daily element, and that's going to be quite interesting to see how that feels. The car also has CS-specific engine mountings, which undoubtedly are going to make the car more rigid and hopefully translate that power a bit better to the rear, because this is our only rear-wheel drive CS now that BMWM makes. Gearbox is apparently unchanged versus the M2, though we've always seen in the CS different software where the cars shift quicker, and they've had a bit of throttle, pedal and brake mapping as well, done specifically for the CS. Now, as you said, the car sits 8mm lower on M's adaptive suspension because it has specific CS tuning for the suspension, including rigidity measures that we don't know the details of yet. But there's other areas with specific CS tuning as well. For example, most crucially, the steering and our M Sport rear differential. So all of these little things changing, I think in the end, are going to have a big effect. Then, of course, the lightweight measures. Those lightweight measures are the carbon fiber roof, of course the boot, which has had a huge saving, and then the center console in the middle of our interior. Unlike the F87, which was identical in terms of weight, despite the carbon fiber usage, to the normal M2 comp, this comes in lighter. It is in fact 1,700 kilos versus the standard M2. So it's about 30 kg lighter, and that's on this standard car before you option the CCBs, which will probably reduce it by another 25. Now, why is this important? It's all about power to weight ratio these days. You look at the previous M2's power to weight ratio, about 290 horsepower per ton. Look at the M4 CS and this car, they're actually identical. So this is in line in terms of power to weight ratio with the bigger brother M4 CS, which is significantly more expensive. And then one final key point, the price, where this car comes in at just a shade over £92,000 in the UK. And before you cry foul of the price, remember that that is just £1,000 more than a standard M4 competition, and it's £30,000 less than the M4 CS, which this car, as I've shown you, is on par in terms of power to weight ratio. To me, for a limited edition M car, that is actually quite a lot of bang for buck. And the good thing is that this car comes very well appointed as standard as well for that price. The only options available are the carbon ceramic brakes, which will drop a bit of weight. We have adaptive cruise control, and you have the option of a leather steering wheel on the inside instead. M Driver's Pack comes as standard, and then you have a choice of 4 different colors. The first one is this gorgeous velvet blue, which is actually an individual color, so it costs just around £4,300, exactly the same as you'd pay on a normal M2 for an individual color, and it is gorgeous. Yes, I get the irony of it being called velvet blue. Why not velvet purple? I don't know, I don't make these decisions, but it's gorgeous. And of course, a few other color options with Portimao blue, you get Brooklyn gray as always with CS, and finally sapphire black, which I know is going to be so popular with those gold wheels. So guys, that's your new M2. More power, more dynamic, unique look, seemingly neck and neck with its big brother M4 CS. But as with any CS in the modern age, the key is always driving it. This is your favorite meal, but with 10% more flavor, 10% more spice. And I always reserve judgment until I taste it. See you guys next time.